Good evening, aspirants. Welcome to Daily News Analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 4th of April 2024. Displayed here are the articles that we are going to discuss today. So as you can see, we have taken articles from different newspapers. So let's begin the discussion. It is a 40th question of Set A question paper. So before answering this question, first let us understand what is blockchain technology and come back to this question. So imagine a blockchain as a digital ledger or a record book that's open for everyone to see. This ledger keeps a history of transactions or changes, much like how you might record scores in a game. The unique part is this ledger is not stored in one place or controlled by a single person. Instead, it's spread out across a vast network of computers, making it very hard to tamper with. Now, what is block? Each entity in this ledger is stored in a block. Think of a block as a page in a record book. This page or a block contains a list of transactions. For example, A sent B 5 rupees, B sent C 2 rupees, etc. Next, in blockchain, what is change? Once a block is filled with transactions, it is sealed off and linked to the previous block, forming a chain. This is where the term blockchain comes from. It's literally a chain of blocks. The linking happens through a process that involves a bit of complex math, ensuring that once a block is added to the chain, changing it becomes almost impossible without being noticed. So how it works? The main important feature in this blockchain is decentralization. Instead of being stored in a single server or managed by a central authority, copies of blockchain are spread across the global network of computers, each called a node. This means no single entity has control over the entire blockchain, making it incredibly secure and resistant to tampering or censorship. Next important feature is transparency. Although personal information is kept private, the transactions themselves are visible to anyone in the network. This means you can trace the history of a unit of currency or an item within the blockchain, ensuring transparency and trust. Next is security. Before transactions can be added to a block, it must be verified by the network. This is often done through a process called consensus, while multiple nodes agree on the validity of a transaction. One common method is called proof of work, where nodes complete to solve a complex mathematical problem and the winner gets to add a new block to the chain. This process also secures the network against fraudulent activity. Next one is immutability. Once a transaction is recorded in a block and added to the chain, altering it retroactively is extremely difficult. To change a single block, one would need to alter all subsequent blocks in the chain across every copy of the blockchain in the network, which is nearly impossible due to the required computational power and consensus mechanism. So with this basic understanding of blockchain technology, now let us solve the previous year question. So with reference to blockchain technology, consider the following statements. It is a public ledger that everyone can inspect but no single user controls. Yes, this is correct. Next, the structure and design of blockchain is such that all the data in it are about cryptocurrency only. This statement is incorrect because the blockchain is not only about the cryptography, it can also store other types of transactions, for example, property exchanges, bank transactions, healthcare, supply chain, and even in voting for a candidate. So the second statement is incorrect. Next, applications that depend on basic features of blockchain can be developed without anybody's permission. This statement is correct. Although cryptography is regulated and needs approval of the central authorities, blockchain technology is not only about cryptocurrency and it can be developed without anybody's permission. So the correct answer is option D, 1 and 3. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Now let us see preliminary previous year question. This question is directly from the basics of polity. They are asking about finance bill and money bill. Look at the first statement. When the Lok Sabha transmits financial bill to the Rajya Sabha, it can amend or reject the bill. This statement is incorrect because a financial bill is a broader word containing three kinds of bills. They are money bills, financial bill 1, financial bill 2. Here money bills comes under the article 110, financial bill 1 comes under the article 117 of 1, financial bill 2 comes under the article 117 of 3. So this classification clearly shows that money bills are a part of financial bills. And we know that with respect to money bill, Rajya Sabha has a limited say, that is, it cannot amend or reject the bill. Look at the second statement. When the Lok Sabha transmits money bill to the Rajya Sabha, it cannot amend or reject the bill. It can only make recommendations. This statement is correct. When Lok Sabha transmits the money bill to Rajya Sabha, it cannot amend or reject the bill. At the max, it can give only recommendations, which may or may not be accepted by the Lok Sabha. Now moving on to the third statement. As we have already discussed, money bill is a part of financial bill, and we know that joint sitting of the two houses under Article 108 is allowed for solving the deadlock between two houses. As a basic, we know that deadlock is possible only when there is a equal power between Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha. In the case of money bill, there is no equality and Raj Sabha is less than Lok Sabha. So joint sitting of parliament is not possible. Here the third statement is incorrect because joint sitting is not possible even for financial bill. So the correct answer is option A, one only. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. Uttarakhand government forms 2 expert teams to check 5 dangerous glacial lakes. These lakes could cause glacial lake outburst floods, which have led to disasters before. The aim is to assess risks and reduce chances of glacial lake outburst floods and giving more time for rescue. The National Disaster Management Authority lists 188 risky glacial lakes in the Himalayas, 13 in the Uttarakhand. Global warming makes these floods more likely, and with studies showing 15 million people at risk. Glacial lakes are growing and increasing due to rising temperatures worldwide. So this is the crux of this article. In this context, let us quickly go through what is glacial lake outburst floods and their causes. Before that, the lakes form due to the steadily melting ice at the very top of glaciers is what is called glacial lake. The glacial lake is contained and regulated by dams. However, in the event of sudden melting or faster than usual melting, this steadied the release of melt water sufficiently increases. This makes these lakes very unstable, resulting in the sudden release of enormous quantities of water, debris and sediments into downstream areas, leading to catastrophic floods. So in simple terms, glacial lake outburst flood refers to the rapid drainage of water from the glacial lake due to some natural trigger. So talking about the causes of these kind of floods, first, extreme weather events like excessive rainfall, heat waves that result in rapid snow melting, or other disastrous natural weather events like earthquakes may also become the reason for a glacial lake outburst that can further lead to flooding. Secondly, any upstream flooding can lead to domino effect on other glacial lakes downstream. In some cases, initially they can be steady and calm, and a few moments later they can also be flooding due to the flow of water coming from upstream. Thirdly, slope failure due to rapid slope movement can lead to glacial floods. Lack of dams or degraded dams can also lead to these kind of floods. These are natural reasons for glacial lake outburst floods, but there is anthropogenic cause, which is nothing but the global warming due to carbon emissions. See, the increasing climate change will increase the frequency of glacial lake outburst floods. So these are the causes of these floods. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Take a look at this column page article. Last year, Kerala's state government lodged a complaint with the Supreme Court alleging that the union government had imposed net borrowing ceiling (NBC) on the state without justification. Due to this action, Kerala was forced to face a financial emergency and was unable to meet critical financial obligations like salaries, pensions, and other essential expenses. Even though the Supreme Court has declined to grant an interim order to restore the possession period, it has referred the suit to the constitutional bench. This referral will give a larger bench an opportunity to examine the extent to which the union government may regulate a state's borrowing. This is the crux of this news article. In this context, let us quickly go through the constitutional provisions related to states borrowing from centers. Before that, remember, the central government can borrow either within India or outside India upon the security of the Consolidated Fund of India, or can give guarantees. But both can be done within the limits fixed by the Parliament. So far, no such law has been passed by the Parliament to fix such limit. This is as per Article 292 of the Indian Constitution. Similarly, a state government can borrow within India upon the security of Consolidated Fund of State, or can give guarantees. But both can be done within the limits fixed by the state legislature. Central government also can make loans to any state or give guarantees in respect of loans raised by any state. Any sums required for the purpose of making such loans are to be charged on Consolidated Fund of India. But a state cannot raise any loan without the consent of centre if there is still outstanding any part of loan made to the state by the centre, or in respect of which a guarantee has been given by the centre. This is as per the Article 293 of the Indian Constitution. Next, the 15th Finance Commission set the net borrowing ceiling for the states at 3% of gross state domestic product for the financial year 2023 to 24. Subsequently, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman clarified in December last year that this would come up to 32,442 crore for Kerala in the 2023-24 financial year. Here the term net borrowing ceiling is very important. Let's break the term and understand it. Here net borrowing refers to the difference between the total funds borrowed and the amount repaid within the specific period. It represents the net increase or decrease in debt over that period. Net borrowing can be positive, indicating that more funds were borrowed than rapid, or negative, indicating that more debt was repaid than borrowed. For example, suppose a state government in India borrows 500 crore rupees through various bonds and loans in the financial year. During this same period, it repays 300 crore rupees of previously borrowed debt. In this scenario, net borrowing would be equal to total borrowings minus total repayments. That is 500 crores minus 300 crores, that is 200 crores will be the net borrowing. So this positive net borrowing indicates that the state government's overall debt increased by 200 crore during this period. Hope you can understand what is net borrowing. So what does net borrowing ceiling means? It is nothing but setting a limit or placing a cap on a net borrowing of a state above which the state should not borrow. In other words, it refers to the maximum amount of borrowing that a government is allowed to incur during the financial year after accounting for repayments of existing debt. In case of Kerala, it cannot have net borrowing above 3% of its own gross state domestic product. This ceiling is done by invoking the powers of center under the Article 293 of 3. Central government is doing so to ensure fiscal discipline and financial sustainability and debt sustainability in India. Now, this is the point of contention. Kerala government urgently requires around 26,000 crores to meet its financial obligations, but it cannot borrow such huge amount since it has not repaid its previous loans. So Kerala government has moved to Supreme Court arguing that the center exceeds the central's authority and undermines the state's financial autonomy. So that's all about this article. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. The Supreme Court of India got upset with Patanjali Ayurveda for repeatedly making misleading ads despite promising not to. The court warned Patanjali's co-founder Baba Ramdev about facing consequences for lying under oath. The court also criticized the government for not stopping Patanjali's false claims during the COVID-19 pandemic. Patanjali kept making false ads, even claiming its products could cure diseases despite the court's warning. The government did not do much to stop Patanjali's misleading ads, which raises concerns about its support for the company. Prioritizing business interests over public health can be dangerous, especially in the matters of medicine. The court warned Patanjali about penalties, but the company continued its misleading ads, promoting the court to take action again. The Patanjali's action suggests it had some support from the government, which is worrying in health-related matters. This is the crux of this article. In this context, let us understand about Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act of 1954. The Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act 1954 controls drug advertising in India. It prohibits ads claiming magical properties and makes such ads as cognizable offence. The act defines magic remedy as any talis, mantra, amulet or object claiming miraculous powers to cure diseases in humans or animals. It includes devices claiming to influence the structure or function of organs in humans or animals. Moving on to see who comes under the Magic Remedies Act. The Act applies to all individuals and entities involved in the publication of advertisements, including manufacturers, distributors, and advertisers. The Act can hold both individuals and companies accountable for contraventions. If a company violates the Act, individuals in charge of its business operation may also be deemed guilty unless they can prove lack of knowledge or demonstrate due diligence in preventing the offence. Directors, managers, or officers of the company may also be held liable if they consented to or neglected the offences. Now we shall see what are the advertisements prohibited under this Act. First, inducing miscarriage or preventing conception in women. Next, improving or maintaining sexual pleasure capacity. Next, correcting menstrual disorders and curing, diagnosing or preventing diseases or conditions included in the schedule. The diseases include more than 54 diseases. Maximum penalty is 4 months of imprisonment with or without a fine on the first conviction up to a year on subsequent convictions. Companies found guilty will have all members deemed guilty. So these are all some of the points related to this act. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. This editorial talks about the Indian Employment Report 2024, which is released by Institute of Human Development and International Labour Organization. It poses questions on the trickle-down effect of our industrial policies. The report shows that there is a divergent trend between rural and urban areas in terms of employment and income. Moreover, the data shows that there is a relatively higher unemployment rate in urban areas at 4.8% in 2000 over the 1.5% in the rural areas. This is the crux of this article. In our analysis, we shall discuss about the issues of urban poor in this discussion. Now let us look into the syllabus. See, this topic will come under GS1 under poverty and development issues, urbanization, their problems and their remedies. This is about the syllabus. Now let us look into the question. How important is it to focus on the urban poor in alleviating the poverty in India? Also discuss the steps taken exclusively focusing on urban poor. This question firstly asks us to analyze why it is important for us to focus on the urban poor. In the second part, we need to discuss about the steps taken to alleviate the plight of urban poor. So let us start with the introduction. Poverty is a social crime characterized by the lack of access to dignified life conditions. The offshoot of it is the urban poverty, which is characterized by inadequate access to basic necessities such as food, shelter, clean water, sanitation, healthcare, etc. Note that urban poverty is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon influenced by various social, economic and environmental factors. So this is about the introduction. In the main body of the answer, firstly, we should focus on why it is important to focus on urban poor. Firstly, urbanization is the future of India, with more than 50% of its population is estimated to live in urban areas. But the issue is, with the rapid pace of urbanization, the scale and the magnitude of urban poor is also on the rise. Know that in 2011 census estimated that around 25% of India's urban population lived below the poverty line. This got accentuated with the COVID-19 crisis. So ignoring the huge segment of population is not feasible for any welfare state. Secondly, urban poor are subjugated to multitude of issues at the same time. The various issues are slum and dilapidated housing, poor sanitation, healthcare and education. This is making the intergenerational inequity and forcing poor people to opt for child labor, etc. So it is in our best interest to focus on urban poor. Thirdly, urban poor are the laborers who work in casual work and daily wage jobs. Know that the wages in such jobs are meager to live a decent standard of living. The India Employment Report 2024 shows that real monthly wages declined for various categories of employees like self-employed and regular workers, etc. So it is inconsistent with the rising inflation and pushing them to poverty. Also note that such jobs lack social protection like pensions, etc., which again add fuel to their poverty flame. Finally, various poverty alleviation schemes are historically targeted towards the rural poor. The schemes like MGNREGA will provide income support to the rural poor, but the urban poor lack such support, which shows the apathy of the government. This is the first part of your main body. In the second part, write about the steps taken to address it. Firstly, to address the plight of workers and to increase the formalization of workforce, following schemes are implemented. Firstly, the Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protshan Yojana scheme will encourage the establishments registered with the Employees Provident Fund Organization (EPFO) to increase workers' employment base. Recently, India unveiled the eShram portal as a national database of unorganized workers to extend social security benefits to them. Secondly, a watershed scheme of PM Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, that is PM Swan Nidhi, is launched to provide specialized microcredit to street vendors to boost their investments and supporting them. Note that government is implementing various schemes to improve the urban infrastructures like Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation 2.0 and Smart Cities Mission to make the cities resilient and sustainable for urban population. Moreover, to increase the skills and employability, the government launched Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, that is National Urban Livelihood Mission. On continuing our discussion, to improve the clean water, government launched Jal Jeevan Mission Urban. Know that this will provide universal coverage of water supply to all households. Also, to improve housing facility, it is implementing Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that is housing for all urban. So this can be your body part of the answer. In conclusion, you can write like this. Urban poverty alleviation needs a comprehensive, multifaceted approach. It ranges from empowering urban local bodies to localizing solutions based on the local conditions of the cities. Know that these are important for developing our urban centers of India into shining lights of prosperity and achieving SDG 11 goals. That's all about this mains answer writing practice. So with this, let us move to some other articles which were in news. First, look at this Live Mint article. India is considering the imposition of stricter duties on jute and jute products imported from Bangladesh. This move is in response to concerns that cheap subsidized imports are harming India's local jute manufacturing industry. Despite existing anti-dumping duties, the import of raw jute from Bangladesh has increased, partly due to exporters finding ways around these duties. So India aims to protect its jute industry, which is facing challenges like high raw material cost and reducing production, by potentially implementing countervailing duties against the subsidized imports from Bangladesh. That's all about this article. Next, look at this Business Standard article. In the 2023 to 24 fiscal year, India saw the highest percentage of its defense production coming from private companies in over 8 years, despite an overall drop in defense production. The private sector made up 22% of defense production, a slight increase in share despite the total defense output decreasing compared to the previous year. The government is encouraging more local production in defense, leading to an increase in defense exports and new investments in defense manufacturing in India. That's all about this article. Next, look at this Indian Express article. The Ring of Fire refers to highly seismic and volcanic zones encircling the Pacific Ocean, characterized by a high-frequency earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. This area is a home to numerous tectonic plate boundaries where plates interact through movement and collision, causing seismic activity. Taiwan, situated on Pacific Ring of Fire, recently experienced a significant earthquake, highlighting the region's vulnerability to natural disasters. The movement of the tectonic plates, particularly the collision and subduction process, are primary reasons for earthquakes and formation of volcanoes in this zone. That's all about this article. Next, look at this Hindu article. The astronomers worldwide, including from India, are planning to place optical and radio telescopes on the far side of the moon and in orbit around it. This initiative aims to take advantage of the moon's unique environment, its pristine, airless desolation, and the absence of Earth's atmospheric and electromagnetic noise to observe the universe more clearly. By doing so, scientists hope to study cosmic phenomena with unprecedented clarity, including the cosmic microwave background and signals from universe dark ages, etc. That's it. So now we shall move on to the prelims practice question discussion. Look at this question. Which of the following diseases or conditions were included in the original schedule of the Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act 1954? Here the answer is option D, all the above. Appendicitis, cancer, diabetes, leprosy, smallpox. So all are correct. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following factors contribute most significantly to the occurrence of Glacial Lake outburst floods? Here the answer is option B. First, increase in annual precipitation levels in the region. This statement is incorrect. Expansion of glacial lakes due to accelerated glacial melting. This statement is correct. Next, increased seismic activity in the vicinity of glacial lakes. This statement is also incorrect. Implementation of advanced flood protection infrastructure. This is also incorrect. So the answer is option B. Expansion of glacial lakes due to accelerated glacial melting. Displayed here is the mains practice question for you today. Understand the question and try to answer it in the comment section. With this, we come to the end of this news article discussion. If you like the video, do like, share and subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you so much for watching.